Hey, it's Tommy Danielsen here from the Loyalty Leaders Podcast. We are, for the first time, in Berlin, and I'm here with, I wouldn't call it an old friend, but we've been acquaintances for quite some time. So I think the first time I met you, Torsten, was in 2009. Torsten Wingenter is what I would say, I would call him a innovator and also a mad professor coming up with great ideas and also coming up with ideas is one thing, but putting them into fruition is something completely different, that it actually happens. And Torsten Wingenter runs a company, Digital Catalyst. And welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us in Berlin.
Yeah, great being here, and we met at the pioneering times of aviation and loyalty, and had the chance to build crazy things, and this is how I really remembered, and I was very glad also to join here and to join you here on the podcast.
I appreciate that, and just for reference, we're talking about 2009, 2010, and we chartered a Condor plane and flew around Europe, a charity event, and then you came back and did something as crazy as putting an Airbus 380 from Lufthansa filled with tech guys and flew from Frankfurt to, was it from Frankfurt or München to San Francisco?
Yeah. We did, or I founded the so-called FlyingLab. So initially I started at Lufthansa Miles & More, being responsible for the strategy. And there I had the chance really to learn a lot, but at the same time also having many green fields, for example, building social media from scratch at Lufthansa, opening all the Twitter accounts and whatever you know. And I often say there was nothing I did not experience during that time, meaning from shitstorms with singer Nina Hagen or ash clouds over Europe, but also the Germanwings crash in France, and so very tough times. And then in the end, when I built up the innovation department for Lufthansa, the digital innovation department, I founded the Flying Lab, and there we did these in-flight conferences to all the main big conferences worldwide, South by Southwest, even Fashion Week, you name it, and it was just crazy because we knew the people going on certain dates, they go to this conference, and so we did the pre-conference in the plane. And this was just tremendous, and I never got so much good feedback from people who said this was crazy, but one of the coolest experiences I ever had.
Yeah, it's definitely a very notable event, and it was like, wow, that's really cool. There's something to be said for taking the biggest plane in the world and filling it with tech people. I assume that it was giving. Was there a lot of champagne, or was it just tech all the way?
I have to admit, with the tech people, it was really very techy at the same time. But the idea was, you are 8, 9, 10 hours in a flight with amazing people, but you never have the chance to meet all these people. And with the speakers on board, we could give impulses, inspire people on the plane, and then suddenly what happened, they started to switch seats. They suddenly went and said, I would love to talk to this person because I heard he's into this or that. And so people could inspire, could make better connections. And everybody came out of the plane and said, how cool was that? I was never on such a flight.
Right. And it's cool, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is like you said, in the infancy of modern loyalty. Loyalty was there all along, but the modern part of loyalty was obviously the generation of Miles & More was when Andreas Koch and Harald were kind of the next generation after, when On Circle Miles and it all started to become about money, and the valuable business travelers, which obviously, as you know, the aviation industry is an ever-evolving place, and it's innovate or die has been the key. And looking into modern times now, and the tools that we have available for personalization and for giving the clients on down to an individual basis what they want. We've seen, we're here at the Loyalty and Retail Media Summit, the first of this kind of events with retail media, and we've seen United Airlines and also Lufthansa. We have Gerhard Schlogel here today, are very interested in this, and the retail media we've seen from United already is personalization. When I sit down in a seat on a United flight, I will see something on the screen in front of me that's made just for me. So hopefully I won't switch seats with the guy across the aisle, and that's obviously a weakness of these things. But now we have a lot of data, and we have a lot of innovation with AI. What are the trends that you're seeing as somebody who's always thinking forward and trying to accelerate new innovation? What are we seeing in the next 5 years or maybe 3 years in the space of personalization and AI?
Yeah. I think there we're coming to kind of a paradox, let's call it. Why? Because on one hand, people are hyping AI, but they do not really know what does it do, how does it do things, etc. Yes, somehow we say personalization, more, better, and so on, but what does it mean effectively? And the interesting part is AI will crystallize the homework we did not do properly so far. And when we think back to the panel which we had right now, just in regard of different players also in the industry, what is becoming quite clear is if you're not shaped your setup in a way that it can maximize and use AI in a proper way, then you will not progress so much as you think. So a lot of people are already kind of hyping, but they forget to do the homework. And the AI in the first step will show who has done their homework, who not. Mm-hmm. And what's the interesting part and what will be the main benefit of AI is that you have a real-time, endless decision engine. And this decision engine we did not have in the past with this capacity to do it in real time, and also having the seat switch, for example, coping with such things in real time. If we have the connections, the informations, where is somebody, etc. But this is now the game where we see when we do our homework, then we will get on a whole new level. When we don't do our homework, then we will realize pretty much who are the ones who really set apart what they are doing to the ones who just put some patches on and call it AI or have some AI features, but it's not from the architecture and from the root up designed.
Yeah, I think what we've seen the trend is doing is that we're, still after 2 or 3 years worth of innovations and big investments and lots of companies popping up with lots of products and ideas, and we have some of the innovators here, but practically the value for a consumer using AI, I would say we have a long way to go.
Yes, definitely. Especially when we look at the personalization today, it works somehow, somewhere, or rather not often. And this is for me the most exciting part. and also from on one hand, loyalty is about change of behavior, influence, etc. So this is why I always say I did a PhD at a controlling chair, but with sociology, and the sociology part is the part which helps me most in my life, because this is something I can really use for loyalty, etc. But the acceleration, what we see is what's the next step. So anticipating what might the customer do next. Right now we're still trying to at least personalize what we have, but then the next step is how can we anticipate what he does or wants next. And I think this is still kind of the holy grail we have. But yes, what I see in the industry is still a lot of homework we need to do.
Right. Yeah, there has been some major investments for sure. And if we look at the recent framework, like for example with Starbucks now redoing their program again after a very short period of time, and I saw a post on LinkedIn about how Starbucks has evolved from when they first came out. The value was that you had to spend about $55 in order for you to get a free cup of coffee in today's money. Now, with the changes that are coming next year, it is connected to tiers. That if you don't have the reserve status with Starbucks, it's $200. So it has, since the program was kind of with the gold stars and the gold card or whatever, all that stuff where there was decent engagement, there is a breaking point, and the breaking point, obviously the world has changed when it comes to coffee. In Europe, Starbucks is not as big as it is in the U.S., because the U.S., they don't have the coffee culture. Me being originally Norwegian, moving to the U.S. was back in the 20 years ago was not the most accelerating thing. So I have my number one coffee source was my Ura machine at home, but and getting before Amazon getting Italian Arabica beans from Italy, but what we've seen so far that there is a breaking point where the return of investment for the guests or the customers is not there. Is that where AI can kind of entice people to be more engaged, or do you need the basis of a loyalty program to see some return of investments, meaning that in order for me to get a free cup of coffee, I have to spend $200, and it used to be 55 13 years ago. Are we at a breaking point, or is it possible to use AI to kind of still get the engagement when you are demanding a lot more from your customers in order to be rewarded?
Definitely. I mean, we see this general trend going to, let's say, money-based programs, not anymore like just points or numbers of flights or so, but really value-based programs. From an economic perspective, sure, makes sense, but what people do oversee often, that you deeply need to understand loyalty and also the behaviors, etc. And there, let's say, we need to fix also the controlling side, let's call it this way, of loyalty, because you have many who try to optimize from a company perspective the program. There you see that the limits raise up, etc., the barriers, but at the same time the question is does it still work for the customer? And how long does it work for the customer? And when we take the example of Starbucks, I remember, I don't know, it was like 10 years ago, I was in New York at a fireside chat with then a new CEO of Starbucks, and I was wondering, his background is mobile. He doesn't know anything about retail coffee or whatever. But then it struck me really during the session, because I realized how to make a good coffee. Starbucks knows already quite a bit. But at that point of time, understanding mobile, they didn't have a clue.
Right.
And the same is in regard of loyalty, what we see now, that they needed to readjust. So on one hand, look at the numbers. At the other side, I hope, also have a deep understanding for the social mechanics behind. And therefore, AI must help out, let's say, because otherwise we're getting too much from a company perspective on the money-making track, but then we lose the customers. And loyalty is about long-term customer value. It's not about the short-term optimization. And I think this is the challenge we have. And hopefully there, AI will help to fix what maybe from a company perspective won't get done right.
Right.
Partially.
Yeah, and you know, the Starbucks loyalty program was built in a time where they were kind of the number one chain, but since then you have, you know, bigger chain also popping up, and also people are starting to discover better quality coffee and more, you know, local stuff and local stuff as well. So and it's also from a captive audience. When it comes to mobile, it's the same as an airline. There's very limited how many providers there are for you to escape to if you don't want to. It has to do. That's what the airlines have going for them, like Lufthansa here, and it's the only player in this market, right? So where we are right now, and you obviously can adjust to the market positions around where you are. But I'm also thinking about seeing how the innovation, because you have a lot of data, right? All the data that you're collecting, and all of you see the behavior of the customer, what the customer looks at online, if they share that information with you, which most people do, and they like to go to Mallorca, you know that, and your Germans like to go to Mallorca, or some do, and some of the behaviors are easy to figure out. But the challenges we've also seen, there was a discussion about in London last year for our loyalty summit, is what happens when priorities change. You have a child, or somebody passes away, or you get a promotion, or you move, and things like that. All of a sudden, things can change dramatically. How optimistic are you that AI will help with transitions and follow a journey? Because a journey, for example, with an airline is usually can be a lifelong commitment, right?
Yeah. This is where I saw already for many years the struggle of the airlines to differentiate when are passengers in I call it business mode and private mode traveling. Mm-hmm. Because when I'm in private mode, I have a totally different behavior. Mm-hmm. So I would maybe check in even my hand luggage or so, while on business, I never would. Mm-hmm. On private, I mean, if you give me an incentive that I check in my hand luggage, I would think about, let's say, a voucher or so, for example. And this is what I mean with the real-time decisioning and reasoning engine of AI, where I see the highest potential in the end of the day. On one hand, we have the points or whatever is happening as signals. Mm-hmm. But what are we doing with it? Mm. And to get to the right decision today, we need to run analysis, etc. This takes us too much time. Mm. So, and this is why our programs usually not capable to react in real time. What's happening or what's changing. And therefore, with today's capacities, also with the language models we have, etc., we are now capable to make these decisions or to decide on basis what is coming in. At the same time, we need to set up that we get the data in real time, but then also really, what I always say, fixing what we didn't do right. And there, this is, I'm with you, see the biggest potential. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely, and what we've seen, you're talking about incentivizing, because that's investing in, for example, which is a great example, checking in your hand baggage when you're traveling, if you have the time, or and a combination. And you've seen Alaska in the U.S. has a guarantee that if your bag is not on the belt within 20 minutes of the first bag being on the belt, or from your flight arrives until the first bag is on belt, it's not supposed. If it's more than 20 minutes, you get 2,500 miles automatically put into your account, which is an accountability thing, and it also obviously incentivizes people, which means that more people are going to check their bags if you have some sort of a reward. If you in the U.S., if you are not a status member, but you're at the gate, and as we know, not just in the U.S. anymore, because in Europe now also there's, I took a flight from Paris to here on Air France yesterday, and it was pretty crowded in the overhead bins on that flight. And if there was an incentive, what we've seen is that if in the U.S. people, the Delta are saying that and also American and United, if you agree to check your carry-on bag before you board, you will be boarding with Group 3, which is the first after the elites and first or business class boards. So people check their bags and they get to go on board first. And obviously, you are then using, if the theory is your theory is correct, you use AI to get flights to be on time, which is a super critical thing that that the airline, a 10-minute delay, if you multiply that with 10 departures in a day, that's a lot of money that it's literally an extra flight you can schedule for that Airbus 320.
Yeah.
So
per annum, these are millions alone for Lufthansa, what they would save, and they have like 12 to 18 minutes delay because of that. They do never know how much hand luggage is coming and so on. And for example, when I'm, as I call it, private or leisure travel mode, come on, if you give me a coffee voucher or so, I don't have a problem to spend with my wife having a nice coffee or so and then going to the belt or whatsoever. But when I'm on business, or if a photographer or so, he never will check in his camera.
Right.
And he would even buy 2 bags for the plane, while I would say, or students or whoever is, depending in which travel mode, would be happy for an incentive to say, okay, today I don't need my bag, so I give it away. And on the other side, there are guests who definitely need their bag, and they would be willing to pay for it if they could.
Right. Yeah, no, I think those are very many things. It's and how you can use the data that you have, and also personalize to get your planes to go out on time is obviously a big thing, and especially this year. We could go on for a long time, but unfortunately, that's the time we had for today. It was so good to see you again, Torsten, and thank you so much for joining us in Berlin.
Tommy, it was a huge pleasure, and looking forward what's coming.
Thank you.